There is a proposal in Indian philosophy, spirituality, or religion that there is one mind. There is one mind and one consciousness or one self or one soul apart from individual minds, individual consciousness, individual self, individual soul, like that. Okay, we will first discard this idea of soul and let us confine to mind, consciousness and self. So Indian philosophy proposes that individuals have this and collectively humans have this. And what is the link? Individual mind or individual consciousness is supposed to be an aspect of this. So, individual mind is an aspect of one mind, collective mind. Individual consciousness is an aspect of collective consciousness. Individual self is an aspect of collective self. So it proposes there is something like collective self, mind and consciousness. And this is individual. That is one. And then it links this to the concept of nirvana. How does it link? It says when individual consciousness merges with collective consciousness, then it is nirvana. Or individual mind merges with collective mind. Self merges with collective self. Merging. And in fact it says, individuals should realize these individual things are an illusion. And this is true, real. So it is in this sense it is considered self is an illusion. Individual consciousness is only a part of collective consciousness. Individual mind is a part of collective. And realizing the illusion of individualism or understanding that this is a part of the total and losing this individualism and merging with this is considered nirvana. There is a philosophy called Advaita. It says the same thing. Individual and collective, that these two are different, is a wrong conception, and individual should merge without experiencing division between the individual and the collective. That is Advaita. So, all this collective mind or collective soul or collective consciousness are given one name, Brahman. So, Atman's merger with Brahman is Nirvana. Okay. And then this, they are saying these are true. And second, they are proposing merger. And they are saying this merger is Nirvana. And also, they are also saying even to think like this is useful, because that makes you less selfish. You are one with the world. So they are linking this with morality, goodness of society. When you think you are a part of a bigger whole, it is assumed that you will work for the bigger whole, less selfish. Okay. And this idea is very, very ancient and popular. And one book is written by Larry Dossey, titled One Mind. Okay. And he says there are many scientists who believe in this. Schrödinger believes in one mind. David Bohm believes in one mind. And the author believes not only the one mind is true, but also useful and relevant concept given this excessive selfishness. And he says, or he gives a lot of evidence. We will look into that. So, how do we evaluate? Just because some scientists say that this is true, it doesn't mean it is true, nor it means it is scientific. So we have to examine the way we examined other concepts. My understanding of why this concept of one mind came is that this is a part of ego bashing, which is very common in Indian religion. So, ego is not supposed to be there. Ego is the villain. It has to be realized as an illusion, and there is something big. So, let me revise the present design. It is like this. There is a body, and from body mind is coming. We discussed this. Mind is a way to manage the body, and from mind consciousness is coming. All within, body to mind, mind to consciousness. Okay. And remember, mind is one, body is one, and consciousness is one, all individual. And how is this man supposed to be related to others? Through working of sympathy. One is sympathetic towards the other. One is willing to give, sacrifice. He may give something more. But of course, this sympathy is not equal with everybody. Sympathy is related to various other factors. You are closer to your family members, more sympathetic to family members, more sympathetic to people of your group. So, individual body, individual mind, individual consciousness, and connected through similarity and sympathy. Similar feelings and sympathy is the one that ties humans, though they are individuals. And sympathy is enough for collective action. But the proposal is, suppose if these two people, instead of having individual mind, suppose they have one common mind. Okay, suppose these two individuals have common mind and common consciousness. Will it be an efficient working? I don't think so. Because they are individuals, if something happens to one person, another person is not equally affected. That is how both are saved. If one person is feeling the pain and the other person also feels pain, then both will suffer. So, decentralized feelings is possible because of decentralized mind and decentralized consciousness. That is why I said this entire self-individualism is functional. This is self-protective. If one feels the pain of everybody around, why everybody around? Even the family members. Family won't suffer. Okay. So, we are individuals plus capable of relationship with others. This is efficient design. Whereas spirituality thinks that this individual scheme is not good and there should be some commonness, and then they say there is indeed commonness. There should be a common mind, and then they say there is indeed a common mind or common consciousness. I don't think this is possible at all. Body 1 and body 2 having one common mind and common consciousness. It leads to very many dysfunctional things. More importantly, we know that it is from body mind is coming and mind to consciousness. How can a group of people and millions of individuals produce a common mind when we know that it is the managing the body, out of the managing the body, mind is coming. Mind is nothing but coordination of reward and punishment system, plus minus system. So mind is coming from managing plus minus, and that plus minus is leading to consciousness. We know very well. So that is unique to one body. There is no way by which two bodies are connected or three bodies are connected from which a common mind is possible. So if we think that the mind is coming from body and consciousness is coming from mind, two people or three people or the entire humanity cannot have common mind. That is not possible. And if you say you are able to relate to others and that shows common mind, that is not true, because we are related because we have sympathy inbuilt. So, common mind doesn't make sense if we know how mind is being generated and consciousness is being generated, number one. Number two, nor common mind is a functional arrangement because it spoils everybody. A family cannot survive if family members have one mind. Okay, it is individualism that is protecting the group. Okay. Next, this book gives many other facts as an evidence for one mind. We'll look into that. So what kind of evidence does this book give to support one mind? He says many things, but we have already discussed when we are doing surviving death. For example, he says mind exists outside body. It is true, mind exists outside body, we discussed. But that does not mean mind is not being produced by body. Mind may be produced by body but can exist outside. And mind survives death. Survives death. This also we discussed. And rebirth is possible. This also we discussed. And mind is capable of non-local movement. This we discussed in what is called near-death experience. And mind is capable of senses, sensory data, smell, see, hear. This also is there in near-death experience. Okay, so he gives facts related to capabilities of mind. And mind, can communicate with another mind, telepathy. This is also true. So, he says things that we did as a part of doing surviving death. So, what all these things show is that from brain to mind to consciousness, but mind and consciousness can be independent. Survive death. Which means we have souls. We have souls. We have souls. Okay. Talking to one another. Many souls in the world talking to one another and capable of sensing non-local movement. Okay. But if these things are there, again, how does this show that there is one mind? For example, there are souls, but how can we say there is one supreme soul? We can't say that. So, he gives certain facts which are not accepted in science or which science doesn't cover, and then says, because of all these things, there is one mind. I don't see any connection. So the evidence he gave is the evidence for soul evidence for Atman in the tradition, but that is not an evidence for Brahman. In fact, the book doesn't make distinction between mind and consciousness. That is one. Doesn't see how mind is evolving. Another. So he gives unusual facts and then says all these things must be true because of one mind, without giving any evidence that one mind as such. So now the last point, Nirvana and Brahman connection. So we discussed Nirvana is dissociation of consciousness with mind, contents of consciousness. So when consciousness is not identifying with the mind and the contents, there is a freedom, there is a liberation. This is Nirvana. It is not necessary this consciousness should think it is a part of or an expression or manifestation of one consciousness or supreme consciousness. What matters is dissociation of consciousness with the contents of consciousness, or put in simple words, dissociation of person with the mind. Disidentification with the mind is central to Nirvana. One doesn't have to think one is a part of some cosmic consciousness or a Brahman. No. So I believe the concept of Brahman came as a part of ego bashing, that is one. And number two, as a part of substitute to the concept of God. Okay. So when some people rejected God, they didn't completely reject God-related ideas. So instead of saying each man is an expression of God, they said each consciousness is an expression of collective consciousness, expression of something bigger. So I think the concept of God survived in the concept of Brahman. Otherwise, there is no need for the concept of Brahman. Of course, one may ask, how do you know that there is no Brahman? It is similar to asking, how do you know there is no God? What is important is, what are the facts that we know? And what assumptions are warranted from the facts? Don't assume something which is more than what the facts warrant. Facts warrant something like dissociation with the mind. Facts warrant that mind is can be separated from body, can survive death. So go by the facts, and what is the minimum assumption that we have to make on the basis of those facts. And that minimum assumption doesn't include one mind, doesn't include Brahman. Okay. So we can say there is Atman, but there is no Brahman. So this is how we can look at things. Thank you.